Okay. Welcome, welcome, one and all. I hope you are warm and comfortable. Our host, Lord Byron, wishes for you to be all perfectly satisfied during your visit here. Under better circumstances, I would offer you a tour of the grounds. It is so beautiful and tranquil here. Oh, I have whiled away many a summer afternoon, strolling through the woods, enjoying the sweet song of birds singing their melodies, feeling the breeze bringing with it the sweet fragrance of wildflowers. Oh, but the weather has been frightfully cold and dreary. We've been shut indoors for weeks. Fortunately, we are in the company of wonderful friends with vivid imaginations, and so we have been regaling one another with ghost stories. My dear Percy has proposed a contest to determine which of us could compose the most bone-chilling and horrific tale. Our dear friend John Polidori is in the very next room, composing fantastical tales of vampires. When he is finished, it shall be my turn. The tale I'm about to share with you came to me in a dream. Well, a nightmare, really. One that has haunted my sleep these past several nights. It is the tale of a man who dared try to emulate God, and the consequences of his actions and his arrogance. Would you like to hear it? Very well, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the tale of Victor Frankenstein.
December, St. Petersburg, to Miss Margaret Seville, London. It will please you to know that no disaster has accompanied the start of my expedition. I arrived here just yesterday, and no other task should be more important to me than to assure you, dear sister, of my welfare. As I walk the streets of Petersburg, a gentle breeze from the north plays upon my face. How am I to describe the excitement I feel? These winds, which flow from the very region to which I now journey, whet my appetite and lay upon my lips the subtle fragrances of the undiscovered country I seek. I try in vain to heed the warnings of my forebears, to imagine the north as a wasteland, frozen and desolate. But how can it be so? There the sun is forever visible, its heavenly disk dancing just above the horizon. How can it be anything other than a land of wondrous beauty, home to flora and fauna imbued with the magic of eternal light? These are my enticements, and they are sufficient to overcome all fear of danger or death. But supposing all my conjectures prove false, one still cannot deny the benefits this expedition will have on all mankind. There I shall explore land never before imprinted by the foot of man. There I may discover the mysterious power that draws the needle. There I may chart thousands of celestial observations and forever revolutionize navigation of the seas. Do I not deserve to accomplish some great purpose? I could easily have lived a life of luxury and comfort and the many other temptations that our wealth has laid before our feet. Instead, I chose the pursuit of glory. In the 6 years since I set my mind to this endeavor, I have conditioned my body to hardship. I have endured cold, hunger, thirst, and want of sleep. I accompanied whalers to the North Sea, labored harder than their career sailors, and devoted my nights to the study of mathematics, medicine, and all branches of science that would bestow practical advantage to the nautical adventurer. Twice I worked as an undermate on a whaler, and I must confess, to no lack of modesty, that my captain offered me second in command and implored me to remain. So valuable did he consider my services. I shall depart for Archangel in a fortnight, to hire a ship and engage as many sailors as I deem necessary. I do not intend to set sail until June. And when shall I return? Oh, how shall I answer this question, dear sister? If I succeed, it may be many months, perhaps many years before I shall see you again. If I fail, you may see me again soon, or never. Farewell, dear Margaret. May God shower blessings down upon you and save me, that I may someday see you again. Your brother, Robert. 28th March, Archangel. How slow the time passes here. I am eager to get underway, but know that I must be patient. Yet progress is made. I had chartered a vessel and hired a crew. Now I lie in wait. For all that I possess, there is one want that eludes me. I have no friend here. Do not misunderstand me. I have a good crew, men of courage and honor and nobility, but they are colleagues and professionals. You may think me a romantic, dear sister, but I bitterly feel the want of a companion. I desire the company of someone who could sympathize with me, one who could approve or challenge my plans, one who could celebrate with me in victory or mourn with me in defeat. Alas, I fear I shall find no such friend here in Archangel, and certainly not once we put to sea. Despite this singular complaint, I am unwavering in my commitment to this endeavor. The winter has been dreadfully severe, but the spring seems promising. We may yet depart sooner than planned, but I shall not do so rashly as to endanger the men entrusted to my care. Write to me at every opportunity. I may receive your letters when I need them the most to lift my spirits. Remember me with affection, your brother Robert. 7th July. I write a few short lines in haste to assure you of my well-being. We are well underway on our voyage. My men are firm in purpose, for the sheets of ice that float by, for warning of its treacherous path before us, do not dissuade us. There have been no incidents worthy of note. The occasional sprung leak, torn sail, or snapped line, the sorts of routine accidents that experienced seamen seldom bother to record. My heart swells as my summit draws near. What force could hope to stop my resolved will? Heaven bless you, beloved sister. Your brother, Robert. So bizarre an incident has occurred that I cannot delay in recording, though it is very likely you will see me before this letter comes into your possession. Last week, we were nearly surrounded by ice, which closed in on the ship on all sides. Our situation was quite perilous, particularly as we were engulfed in a dense fog.
We must turn back, Captain.
The ice will give way. Be patient.
We have lost 3 men already to the cold.
They knew the risks when they signed on.
But, sir,
I have come too far to turn back now. Lives come and go. But if we succeed, our names will never be forgotten.
your name.
Aye, what of it?
How many more of our lives shall we sacrifice for your name and your glory?
As many as are necessary.
You rescue me, Captain.
Utter that word again, and your fallen comrade shall have company. At about 2 o'clock, the mist cleared and we beheld vast sheets of ice in every direction, seemingly without end. My mind grew watchful and anxious, when suddenly a strange sight caught our attention. We observed a sled drawn by dogs, headed north, about a half-mile from our ship. On the sled was a creature with the shape of a man, but, if man he be, one of gigantic stature. We tried to follow his track, but he vanished quickly amidst the ice. Approximately 2 hours later, we began to hear the ground sea, and by nightfall the ice had broken. Rather than risk striking the ice in the dark, we lay to until morning. At dawn, I went up on deck and discovered my men congregated to one side of the ship. A man in a sled, similar to the one we saw the day before, had apparently drifted into us upon a large chunk of ice in the middle of the night. Only one of his dogs remained alive, and the man himself was frozen and dreadfully emaciated. I had never seen a man in such a wretched condition. We attempted to bring him to a warm cabin, but he fainted the moment he came inside. We brought him back out to the deck for fresh air and aroused him with a small measure of rain. Then we wrapped him up in blankets and laid him near the chimney of the kitchen stove. He recovered slowly and eventually was able to swallow small amounts of soup. What an interesting creature he was. On the whole, I would have to describe his demeanor as one of despair and misery, which was understandable given the circumstances in which we found him. There was wildness and madness in his eyes, and a sense of impatience. Yet, whenever one of us performed an act of kindness or compassion toward him, his face lit up with such sweetness.
What compels you to come so far north, alone on such a tenuous sledge?
To pursue that which flees from me.
The man you seek traveling in a similar fashion?
Yes. How did you know?
Then I surmise we have seen him. The day before we rescued you, we saw dogs drawing a sled with a man in it.
What did he look like?
It was impossible to make him out. He looked rather large compared to the sled, though.
And where did you see this demon?
Demon?
Yes, demon. And where did he flee?
We observed him about a half-mile to the east, tracking north.
I must go after him.
Easy. You're in no condition to give chase. Besides, we sail north ourselves. I'll alert my men to be on the lookout for your demon. If he yet lives, we may yet encounter him.
If he lives.
The ice broke overnight. His sled may have been destroyed and drowned.
Could I be so fortunate? I have no doubt excited your curiosities, Captain, as well as that of your crew. Yet you were too considerate to ask inquiries.
It seems you have suffered tremendously. It would be impertinent for me to trouble you with my curiosities.
Thank you.
Although, I would like to know what to call you, friend.
My name is Victor Frankenstein.
A pleasure, Victor. I am Robert Walton.
You've rescued me from a perilous situation, Captain. Restored me to life. For that I am most grateful.
Rest, my friend. Regain your strength.
I wrote in one of my past letters, Margaret, that I would find no home on this frozen and desolate ocean. Yet by bizarre accident I have. My affection for my guest grows each day. His grief fills me with compassion and sympathy. He must have been a noble creature in his better days, being even now in the wreck so attractive and cordial. I love him as a brother.
And that's how I clubbed my first seal.
Thank you for that, Walton. I haven't laughed in such a long time. I'm forever in your debt. You've restored me to life. You've saved my life. Shown me every courtesy. And still your men. They aid me in my hunt. I must know, Captain, what compels you to show such honor and kindness to a stranger?
It is the humane thing to do, is it not, Victor? What more reason should we need? What more reason should I need? When we found you, you were utterly deserted on this desolate sea of ice. What fraction of a man could leave you there to die, cold and alone?
Perhaps. But when you and I are above deck, I sense that we gaze in different directions.
For your demon.
It is my obsession, not yours. What caused you to voyage here, not the warm trade waters of Indonesia or the Caribbean?
The North Pole.
Ha. So you are an explorer then?
I am. As are you, I suspect. There's something familiar to me in your eyes, Victor. That need to understand how things work. To uncover life's greatest mysteries.
It is true. I was once as you described, and was once as you are now, but no longer. I live now only for vengeance.
Come now, Victor. You've come aboard this ship of exploration and discovery. Join me and reignite your passion. You and I could discover a land untouched by man. We could uncover the world's greatest secrets. No matter the perils, no matter the men that fall along the way, think of the glory. Imagine the adventure.
You would endanger your crew to plant a flag.
We might even capture your quarry in the effort.
You poor devil. You're afflicted by the same madness as I. You may easily perceive, dear Captain, that I was once an explorer such as yourself, only I did not trace rivers or scale peaks or sail foreign seas. I had a noble purpose. I set out to conquer the mysteries between life and death. In my fervor, I had lost everything. I had resolved that the memories of that wretched undertaking should follow me to the grave, lest some poor fool try to replicate my efforts. And your pride gives me cause to reconsider. You have tasted the intoxicating elixir of glory. Hear my story, Captain, so it may not such a poison as come from your lips. To say that my childhood was charmed would be an understatement. I was the eldest son of two very loving parents, Alphonse Frankenstein and Caroline Bulford. They showered me with affection, drawn from a seemingly inexhaustible supply of love. When our family visited others, I was very much aware of the privileges bestowed upon me, and I vowed never to take them for granted. When I was 5 years of age, our family invited an orphan to live with us, the beautiful and radiant Elizabeth Lavenza. 2 years later arrived my baby brother William. We were a truly blessed and loving family. I wanted for naught, save to satiate my thirst for knowledge, to which I committed myself to the study of natural philosophies. My parents supported my studies, but my father felt, to complete my education, that I should become acquainted with the customs of foreign lands. So when I was 17 years of age, my parents had resolved that I'll attend university at Ingolstadt. Shortly before I was to depart for Bavaria, as if to exact some sort of long overdue penance, tragedy shattered our enchanted lives. Consumption.
My children, my firmest hopes of future happiness have rested on the promise of your union. This expectation will now have to be a comfort for your father. I regret that I am taken from you. Oh, happy and beloved as I've been, is it not hard to quit you all? But these are not thoughts befitting me. I shall resign myself cheerfully to death and I will rest in the promise that we will be reunited in the next life.
Oh, no.
Victor? Victor? Victor!
Leave me in peace.
Victor, you must eat.
I am not hungry.
You must rest.
I will not dishonor her memory with indolence.
Oh, Victor, we all mourn the loss of your mother, but she would not want this for you. Your obsession will undo you. Paracelsus, Albertus Magnus, Colonel Agrippa. My dear Victor, do not fill your head with such nonsense.
It is long before the mind can accept this sheet. And we saw every day is taken from our lives forever. That the sight of a beloved visage could be erased, or the sound of a comforting voice hushed. As time passes, bitter reality sets in, and only then does grief truly commence. Yet who has not experienced the tragedy of loss? Why should I describe a sorrow we all must inevitably confront? Alas, the time comes when grief becomes an indulgence rather than a necessity. And it was in that indulgence that sealed my wretched fate. At Ingolstadt, I became the pupil of Monsieurs Waldman and Tramp. Tramp was an uncouth and repulsive creature. He regarded my alchemist idols with the same contempt as did my father. Though even in him, I found some small amount of useful information to help guide in my studies. Waldman, a specialist in chemistry, was far more sympathetic to the spirit of the ancient alchemists. He became my friend and encouraged me to study all branches of science, including mathematics. He tended a list of textbooks for me to acquire. I applied myself and progressed rapidly to the astonishment of my professors and colleagues. None but those who have experienced can conceive the enticements of science. In other disciplines, you go as far as others have gone before you, and there's nothing more to know. But in scientific pursuit, there's endless fuel for discovery and wonder. Yet I held in contempt those philosophers that sought enlightenment for its own sake, self-aggrandizing astronomers, botanists, and zoologists, who sought no greater purpose than the elation of discovery and the fame that came with it. In my mind, there's only one goal worthy of scientific exploration: tearing down the walls that separate life from death, conquering at last the evils that steal away those whom we hold dear. I therefore resolved to acquaint myself most intimately with the branches of science relating to anatomy, chemistry, and galvanism.
I told you when we first met, Victor, that every moment you spend on these ancient books is utterly and entirely lost. For 2 years I have tried to educate you in the ways of modern science, yet you continue to fill your head with nonsense and rubbish. Mark my words, Herr Frankenstein, persist on this path, and you will be expelled.
He's not serious, is he?
I'm afraid so, Henry. Headmaster takes a dim view of unorthodox thoughts. You remember Mr. Jekyll, don't you? He was dismissed just last month on similar grounds.
What of you, Professor?
You have accomplished much during your tenure here, Victor. No doubt you'll continue to do so. But it should not astonish you that I'm skeptical of this proposal.
'Tis just as well. With greatest respect, Monsieur Waldman, there seems to be little reason for me to remain here at Ingolstadt. My research here is no longer conducive to the residence I've taken in this establishment, and I thought I might return to Geneva.
Don't be rash, Victor.
You confuse my meaning, Victor. Much of science has been discovered quite by accident. Who am I to dictate the path of scientific discovery? How am I to know what inadvertent discoveries you may still make? You may yet astonish the world. I implore you to remain here amongst friends. I have a small apartment nearby. You can conduct your research there, privately, free from disparagement.
I think that wise.
Very well. Thank you, Professor. I studied in excruciating detail the processes by which the form of man decays and becomes food for the worm, thus imbuing the latter with nourishment for sustained life. I toiled in the darkest of crypts until a sudden light came upon me. I had succeeded in discovering the cause and generation of life and became myself capable of bestowing life upon inanimate matter. I can see in your eyes if you expect me to share the secret of my discovery.
But you must. You speak of conquering death and immortality. What mortal creature could resist such knowledge? Torment me not, Frankenstein.
Alas, that cannot be. Listen patiently to the end of my story, dear Captain. You will understand my reluctance to reveal such terrible knowledge. With such astonishing power placed in my hands, I hesitated at length concerning the manner in which I should employ it. I considered building a simple creature, but as encouraged and excited as I was with my initial success, I decided to squander neither time nor resources on such frivolous trials, but instead to construct a being in my image. Man. It was during the summer months that I found myself engaged, mind and soul, in this singular pursuit. I'm told the fields never yielded a more bountiful harvest, nor the vines a finer vintage than during that summer. But the enticements of the season were wasted on me, as I found myself quarantined in my mentor's apartment. I stole bones from the charnel houses to build his frame. Mortuaries and slaughterhouses unwittingly furnished the other materials I required. You cannot conceive the strangeness of emotions that drove me onward in my task. A new species was going to bless me as its creator. No father could claim the gratitude of his child more completely than I should deserve of mine. It should be a minor exercise of the imagination that, having imbued inanimate matter with life, that I might, in time, devise a similar technique to restore life to a body taken by death. So preoccupied with my work was I neglected the health of my own body. I often skipped meals and worked well into the night, tending to my creation. Installing his organs, layering his muscles, threading his veins, and sculpting his body. So too did not neglect correspondence with my family and friends. My silence caused no shortage of concern. So important did I consider my work that I could not be bothered to assuage their fears. It was a dreary night in November that I beheld the fruits of my labor. I had taken such pains to make my creation beautiful, paid mind to every detail. His limbs were proportional. His hair a lustrous black, teeth a pearly white, and the skin stretched taut over the veins and muscles beneath. But those eyes!
There can be no denying that mine was a difficult birth, one of terror and agony. The man who had fled from me I later deduced to be my creator. My first experience with humanity ended with rejection. Had there ever been a creature so utterly alone and as helpless as I? Were all newborn creatures abandoned at the moment of their birth to fend for themselves in a world entirely foreign to them? Was this what it was to live?
I regret that Henry has troubled you, Doctor. As you can see, I am quite well again.
You were discovered unconscious in an opium den.
I was careful.
And from where did you receive your medical degree, Frankenstein?
I am an accomplished chemist. I was careful. I was measured, and
You were in a coma.
I miscalculated.
Will he be alright, Dr. Seward?
I believe so, but I should monitor him for the next several days. Either I or my associate, Jack Griffin, will stop by each morning to check on him until I'm satisfied with his recovery.
Thank you, Doctor.
Good morning.
Your sleep seemed disturbed.
I am yet haunted by the wildest of dreams. I saw my dear Elizabeth, in the bloom of health, strolling here in the streets of Ingolstadt. I was so elated to see her that I rushed to embrace her, but as my lips met hers, her face seemed to change, and I saw that I held the corpse of my mother, the remnants of her skull consumed by the grave worms.
I am sorry, my friend. If it's any consolation, your father assures me of Elizabeth's well-being. She herself has written many letters. I have set them aside for you to read when you are able. I'd inform her your condition improves, but she wishes to read a few letters from your own hand when you are able.
That soothes my heart. Thank you.
So, seclusion, obsession, and narcotics. Where are we to begin, Victor? What happened in that apartment? Waldman is furious. He says you left the place in shambles.
I couldn't rightly say.
Then wrongly say.
Do you remember when we were in school, Henry? We dreamed of marching together to the Royal Society, presenting our evidence with glorious flourish, how those who hated and mocked us would at last be silenced in the face of our triumph. For 2 years, I labored to infuse life into an inanimate body. I sacrificed my own well-being to this endeavor. And now that I have finished, the beauty of the dream has vanished.
Finished? Then you have succeeded? You have created life? What a miracle!
Yes, my miracle. I have conquered death, and in the process I have created monsters, none more so than the man who sits before you.
I do not understand.
I have borne an abomination and unleashed horror upon this world. Every sin of my hideous creation will hang on me for all eternity. Do you wonder why I turned to the needle, Henry? It was either that or the noose.
It is with considerable difficulty that I recall the beginning of my life. So many strange sensations flood my consciousness all at once, such that I could neither distinguish nor comprehend. As I stumbled out of my Creator's sanctum, my eyes were stabbed by the bright light of day. I learned that large and opaque forms could ease this pain, so I sought refuge in the forest, in the shadows of nearby forest. It was there that I laid myself upon the dirt to rest as fatigue overwhelmed my body. Later, I was tormented by the pains of hunger and thirst, which had compelled me by instinct to eat berries from trees and drink water from a creek. Satiated, I had succumbed to slumber. When I had awoke, the sky was dark, and I felt the bitterness of cold. The wrappages I had found were completely inadequate for warmth. I was a poor, helpless, miserable wretch, enduring pain on all sides of my being. I sat and wept. In time, my eyes adjusted to the bright light of day, and I began to distinguish between the varying forms. I saw clearly the trees that shaded me from the sun, and the streams that quenched my thirst. One day, I happened upon a small fire in the forest, seemingly abandoned. I delighted in its warmth, and eagerly thrust my icy hands into the flames, but immediately recoiled in pain. How strange, I thought, that fire should produce two such opposite sensations. I learned to enjoy fire from a distance, and through great experimentation, I discovered the methods necessary to maintain it. However, as food became scarce in the area that I had inhabited, I was forced to abandon this marvel in favor of an area that the few needs I experienced could be more easily procured. I grieved for the loss of fire, which I acquired by fortune and knew not how to reproduce. After several days of traveling, I happened upon a village of huts. These new structures fascinated me. Upon closer examination, I found an opening in one, which I had entered. I saw a man sitting near yet another fire. When he saw me, he screamed and fled the hut. I was enchanted. The ground was warm and dry. Rain and snow seemed unable to penetrate the structure. I had found remnants of the man's breakfast, which had consisted of bread, cheese, milk, and wine. The latter of which I found quite vile. I had explored the other huts in the village, and upon my arrival, each of the occupants had screamed and panicked and fled. I greedily consumed the treasures of food that they had left behind. It was not long before the villagers were roused by my presence.
Ah, get out of here, you freak! Get out of here!
I learned to stay in the shadows, to protect such a heart as my creator gave me.
That was delicious. Thank you. I love you both very much.
You're welcome.
We love you too, Papa.
What's wrong?
Our food! It's gone! We've been looted!
This is most concerning.
Wicked thief! What are we to do? Winter is coming and food is ever more difficult to find.
We'll have to go and gather some more.
We must build up our stores or we will surely starve. How are we to hope to save up any food if someone steals it away?
Chin up, sister. We will be alright.
What is it, Ekva?
Our food! It's not stolen! Better yet, there's more!
What? How is this possible?
Look, there's more fresh water, too!
I don't believe it. There's enough wood here to get us through the next several days. Even the snow's cleared away. It seems we have a benefactor.
What a blessing!
We needed to go out in the cold today. I think I should finally have time to fix the leak in the roof. And you should have time to study your reading.
Oh, but do you really think we should be idle? Suppose the food be stolen tonight again as it was before.
Oh, Agatha, rejoice, if only for a day. I'm sure Father would rather our company than to be left alone all day.
I would indeed.
We will go out and gather some more tomorrow, I promise.
Through primrose tufts in that green bower, the periwinkle trailed its wreaths, and 'tis my faith that every flower enjoys the air it breathes. The birds around me hopped and played. Their thoughts I cannot measure, but the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. The budding twigs spread out their fan to catch the breezy air. And I must think, do all I can, that there was pleasure there. If this belief from heaven be sent, if such be nature's holy plan, have I not reason to lament what man has made of man?
Man.
In time, I learned language, and to speak in their tongue. The volumes of poetry that I took from my creator's apartment were my guides. He seemed to venerate the romantic poets, Wordsworth, Keats, Goethe, Blake.
Why linger? Why turn back? Why shrink my heart?
Shrink my heart.
Thy hopes are gone before from all things here. They have departed. Thou shouldst now depart. A light is passed from the revolving year. And man and woman and what still is dear. attracts to crush,
Repels.
repels to make thee wither.
Make thee wither.
The soft sky smiles, the low wind whispers near. Tis Adonais calls, O hasten thither. No more let life divide what death can join together.
What death can join together.
But it was the words of Milton that resonated with me most.
Did I request thee, Maker, from my clay, to mold me man? Did I solicit thee from darkness to promote me? No direct mentor, but these unwitting tutors of my education. Learning the language of man was a painfully slow and arduous task. But as my mastery of the subject improved, I had turned my attention to another book that I had taken from my creator. It had caught my eye on the day of my birth, but I knew not why. The pages of the other books were neat and orderly, the characters uniform in appearance. However, in this book there was no such neatness or order. The characters appeared sloppy and much more difficult to decipher. It also contained strange images and symbols that I had not seen in any other book. After reading at length and scrutinizing every detail, I came to realize that this strange book contained the handwritten notes of my creation, authored by my creator himself, Victor Frankenstein. He recorded in minute detail every abominable step he took to manufacture my form. I sickened as I read. God had the good sense to create Adam in his own image, beautiful and alluring. Even Lucifer, the fallen angel and enemy of God, he had friends and associates in his desolation. Yet I am alone and abhorred. Oh, hateful day when I received life. Cursed creator. Why would you make a monster so hideous that even you turn away from me in disgust? These were my thoughts in moments of solitude and despair. But when my thoughts returned to my neighbors, Felix, Agatha, and the elder who I learned was called DeLacy, I had contemplated the virtues of man, for they seemed benevolent. I had hoped that they would appreciate my virtues, overlook my physical deformities, and show me compassion. So great was my desire for companionship, but so great was my fear of rejection that I shied away day after agonizing day. And yet, I devised a scheme. I was aware by now that it was my hideous appearance alone that men feared. In the streams of water where I drank, my reflection bore little resemblance to that of other men. But if the virtues espoused in books are to be believed, my temperament and conduct are virtuous. I had also become aware that the old man was blind. I had reasoned that his own disabilities would render him less disturbed of my own deformities. If I could first prevail upon him for friendship, might he then mediate an introduction to Felix and Agatha?
Tis a beautiful morning. We should go for a walk.
We should head into town. I think I finally collected enough pelts to trade for provisions. Father, will you come with us?
That would only slow you down. You two go ahead and enjoy the day. Who's there?
Pardon the intrusion. I'm but a traveler, in need of a little rest. You'd oblige me greatly if you'd allow me to stay by your fire for a few moments.
Of course. Enter, my weary friend. I'll try to accommodate you as best I can, but I'm blind and my children are away. It's difficult for me to be a proper host.
Do not trouble yourself, kind sir. It is only warmth and rest I require, nothing more.
Where do you travel?
Not far from here. I seek refuge and hope to gain the protection of some dear friends, though they know little of me, and in fact, have never met me. For I am a despised and deserted creature with no relation upon this earth, and I fear that upon meeting me, they may reject me, I will be condemned to be an outcast in this world forever.
The hearts of men are truly good and virtuous. If these friends of yours are truly good and virtuous, you can rest assured of their kindness and compassion.
They are indeed good and virtuous people, but I fear that might not be enough. I think myself to be a man of good character, and in my life I've never harmed another living creature. For many months, unbeknownst to my friends, I've been in the habit of performing daily acts of kindness towards them. Though prejudice may cloud their eyes, where they ought to see a friend, they might instead only see an abomination.
I'm an old blind man, and as such, I cannot judge your appearance. But your words and your voice persuade me of your sincerity. Is there no way to enlighten your friends as to your true nature?
That is the task I'm about to undertake, but it fills me with terror.
Perhaps if you were to confide in me the particulars of your story, I could be of some assistance.
How can I ever thank you? From your lips I have heard for the first time words of kindness directed towards me. I am forever grateful, and now assured of my success.
May I know the names of your friends? Perhaps I'm acquainted with them and could facilitate an introduction.
You and your family are the friends
Good
that
God!
Protect me and grant me safe haven.
Who are you? What the? Who are you?
Creator! Father! For what cruel purpose would you make it so I could feel? Why not instead make me out of steel or stone? I'd much rather be the corpse I was than the man I am.
Henry remained at my side for many months, nursing me back to health. My body healed from fatigue and malnourishment quickly enough, but the scars to my mind and soul were far more indelible. Paranoia consumed my waking hours, as I imagined my hideous creation scurrying around every corner, lurking in every shadow. At night, I was disturbed by the most haunting of nightmares. I was indeed fortunate to have a friend as compassionate and patient as Henry. In due time, he eased me out of my bed and onto the streets of Ingolstadt. We visited with old friends and became acquainted with new ones. Henry hoped to distract me from my misery with the fellowship of man, but no amount of time could ever completely soothe my conscience. His efforts afforded me brief respites from the ennui of despair, briefly reminded me what it felt like to be human. After I learned to feign normalcy, Henry journeyed with me back to Geneva for a long overdue reunion with my family. Dear Elizabeth! How my heart swells to be in your sweet, loving presence again. I've been away for far too long. Please forgive me. And Father, how I've missed your wisdom and support. What's the matter? Rejoice, for I return home. This is not cause for celebration.
Oh, Victor!
Your return is indeed a happy occasion. Wouldn't be happier but for the most terrible news I must share with you. I can scarcely bring myself to utter these horrible words. Steel yourself, Victor. I must share with you most unhappy tidings.
Torment me no longer. What has happened?
Your brother is dead.
William! No, this is not possible.
He is murdered.
How?
We were walking through England, walking through play one evening. Through some game, William was separated from us. We searched for hours, but we couldn't find him. When night came, Elizabeth supposed he had found his way home without us. So we returned home, and he was not there. We went back to play with several servants and torches to search for our lost son. He was found the next morning, his body cold and lifeless, with the marks of his assailant's hands around his throat.
Sweet young William. He hadn't an enemy in this world. What cause could anyone have to deprive him of life?
The tragedy is yet worse. After recovering his body, one of the servants, Justine, fell ill.
Some time before, I had gifted young William a pendant containing the photograph of your dearly departed mother. When we found him dead, the pendant was missing.
William was murdered for a piece of jewelry.
So it would seem. Well taken care of, Justine, one of the other servants, found the pendant in her pocket.
This cannot be. Surely she's not accused.
I cannot believe it myself. Justine has had nothing but love and affection for this family.
I would rather have remained ignorant to the name of my son's murderer than to learn that such a depraved person was one I trusted and held in such high regard.
You're mistaken, Father. Justine is innocent, I'm sure of it.
She is to be tried tomorrow. If she is innocent as you believe, Victor, then God save her.
I searched for young William all night alongside the rest of the family. I loved him very much and was worried for his safety.
A shopkeeper alleges to have witnessed you lurking about very near to where the boy's body was found. She states she observed you to be dazed and confused.
If such was my appearance, it was undoubtedly for want of sleep, or perhaps the illness that later overtook me. As for his proximity to the body, it was... Several of us came near him that night, I'm sure of it. It was a mere coincidence. But yet those who found him do not stand here accused.
None of them were in possession of this.
I see how heavily this one bit of evidence weighs against me. But how it got into my pocket mystifies me. I have no enemy, certainly none so wicked as to see me stand here and be condemned. I beg you that you can call upon someone who can convict you of my innocence.
Very well. Who here would like to speak on Miss Moritz's behalf?
Okay.
Is there no one? Anyone at all?
Begging your pardon, I'm the sister, not by blood, but through grace, of the poor boy who was murdered. Though it may seem indecent of me to come forward on such an occasion, as I see my friend here about to be condemned through the cowardice of her supposed friends, I ask that I be permitted to speak as to her character.
Very well.
I have known Miss Moritz for 7 years. She is, and always has been, a most kind and benevolent young woman who is loved by all within our family and home. She tended to Madame Frankenstein with tenderness and care in her final illness. She was especially attached to young William, and after Caroline passed away, she stood in as a mother to him. Despite the evidence presented against her today, I say, without hesitation, that I fully trust in her innocence.
Is that all?
You believe your monster had killed your brother?
I was certain of it. I caught sight of the fiend in Geneva.
Then why were you silent in her defense?
What could I have possibly have said that would have persuaded her accusers of her innocence? Even you, my friend, do not believe my story. I see the doubt in your eyes. But I cannot blame you. My story is so incredible. What would you have had me say?
My skepticism is not the issue. If you were convinced of her innocence, you were obliged to speak.
My words would have been dismissed as the ravings of a madman. They would have hung me instead. The verdict is as we expected. Justine is condemned.
No!
The judge would rather convict a dozen innocent souls than risk the exoneration of a single villain.
Is there nothing we can do?
There might have been, but for Justine's confession.
Confession? No, I cannot believe it.
I'm afraid so.
I love Justine like a sister.
How could she betray me? Betray us? How can I ever trust another?
I have no explanation to offer. Though even in the face of Justine's confession, I'm unwavering in my belief that she's innocent. Come, let us visit and console her in her final hours.
I'm so very sorry.
Wicked enough that our dear baby brother should be taken from us. But how dare you strip me my consolation? I trusted in your innocence, Justine, and nothing could have shaken my faith in you but for your own confession.
You, sir, do you also believe we'd be guilty?
He was more convinced of your innocence than I. Even when he heard of your confession, he did not credit it.
Well, forgive me, Elizabeth, for I confessed a lie. From the very moment that I was arrested, my jailers were so insistent on my guilt that I gradually began to believe it myself. They threatened me with excommunication and damnation to hell, and I confessed, if not mercy from them, then from God.
Oh, Justine, forgive me for having doubted you. Fear not, Victor and I will prove your innocence.
As much as I appreciate your support, such efforts would be futile under the circumstances. You needn't worry, though. I am resigned to my fate. I take solace in knowing that I'll see William in heaven, if only I could extend the same comfort to you as well.
Oh, how I wish I were there to die with you. I cannot bear to live in this world of misery.
Say something. How can you remain silent to such an injustice?
How progressive is how quickly?
What great delusions of the mind must my friend suffer to concoct such an incredible tale? A constructed man indeed. Was this invention of his imagination merely a mechanism to cope with the tragic loss of his brother? Or is the truth more sinister? Did he create the fiction of this monster to soothe his own guilty conscience? Is it possible that I have taken aboard and befriended a murderer? Still, when I look at his sunken face, I cannot help but feel compassion. Whatever the truth may be, it seems that he has suffered and atoned enough.
Victor, you compound our misery with this obsession. Has there not been enough sorrow?
I cannot rest. My brother's murderer yet walks this earth a free man. His death must be avenged.
To what end? William and Justine are dead, and you propose to hunt a ghost. Neither his name nor his face are known to us.
I have a notion.
You do? Who? You must tell me, Victor.
No, Elizabeth. For your own protection, you must stay here where you are safe. Go now. I'll return to you in the morning.
Very well. Take care of yourself, Victor. I can't bear to lose another, least of all you.
Why you? Demon! You dare approach me? Do you not fear the vengeance of my own rod upon your miserable head? Begone! No. Stay. Stay so I may extinguish the spark that I so negligently bestowed upon you and erase your miserable existence from this world.
Destroy me, if you can.
Ah!
I expected such reception. Men hate all wretched things. So how am I supposed to be hated who is wretched beyond all other living things? There's one person in this world who owed me love and affection. 'Twas you, my creator. Yet even you abhorred and rejected me. How was I expected to gain the love of others who owed me no such duty? Have you forgotten, astute creator, that you designed my body more powerful than thy own? I am taller than thee, faster than thee, stronger than thee, more resilient than thee. Did you really believe you could destroy me so easily? Are you really so naive?
State your purpose!
I've suffered terribly in the shadow of your abandonment. I was your creation. I ought to have been your Adam. Instead, I am your fallen angel whom you banished for no misdeed.
No misdeed? Devil! You who have stolen from me, my beloved brother, dare whine to me of your suffering? You whose devious deceptions condemned an innocent girl to hang for your crime, dare speak to me of responsibility? The torches of hell are too sweet a mercy for your sins!
It was your neglect that created the monster you now curse. Their deaths hang on your neck, Victor, not mine.
Then you confess!
I confess I was innocent. Believe me, Frankenstein, my soul was benevolent and charitable. My heart swelled with wonderment for the world. Yet you and your fellow man spurned me for no other reason than my deformities. And do these disfigurements reflect some sort of flaw in my character? No! Every defect upon my body was put there by your hands! My creator! My Lord! My Father! I was so utterly alone. And yet, in spite of all the abuse and rejection and assault that I had endured, I still cherished life. During my journey from Ingolstadt to Geneva, I happened upon a small girl who had slipped and fallen into a lake. I saved her from drowning. And do you know how her father rewarded my heroics? With a bullet to my shoulder! The hideousness of my face does not hold a candle to the depravity of the human heart. So do not be amazed at my loathing of your species. Do not feign bewilderment.
I am not responsible.
Stand and face me! Look upon this face again, Creator! Is it not well made? Are its eyes not alert? Are these not the eyes that you looked into once? You've read for me before, Frankenstein. Never again!
What do you want from me, demon?
There are hungers that compel us in this life. Food, shelter, warmth. But there's one hunger that stands out. Love.
I could never love you.
I do not want your love, Father. You're not capable of it. No. I seek reparation that only you, Victor Frankenstein, can provide. I seek a friend, a companion. I want you to make for me a mate, a female of my own species. Grant me this kindness. Fulfill your duty towards me, and I shall leave your and your ilk in peace. Refuse, and I will render your brightest day your darkest night.
You seek to threaten me with death. If you seek to threaten me with life.
Do not test me, Frankenstein. You have not known horror until I have shown it to you.
I could not bear the thought of bringing another creature like him into existence. I could easily imagine their combined benevolence would render this world desolate. Yet I could not deny the logic in his request. I alone had the power to rectify his solitude. I was moved by a small measure of sympathy for the creature. I resolved to comply with his request. My motives were that of self-preservation, if I'm honest. The fiend had inflicted so much pain already, as he so reminded me when he casually flung me to the ground. Appeasement seemed the prudent course of action. Under the pretense of sabbatical, and the promise to be married to Elizabeth upon my return, I traveled to London to complete this unholy task. I postulated that the demon would follow me. I feared leaving my family without my protection. I assumed he would want to monitor my progress and claim his prize when completed. But not trusting the depraved machinations of the creature's mind,
I implored Henry to take up room in our home and to watch after Henry and Elizabeth. I disclosed to him only those details necessary to ensure his safety and their protection. What will you make of this life, I wonder? Will you be a creature of love and grace, as was my mother? Will you be beautiful and affectionate, as is my fiancée? Will my experience and practice result in a being less flawed than he who came before you? No. Even now, even in you, I see the eyes of the demon I spawned. You may prove to be 1,000 times more sinister than that of your brother. You may delight in inflicting pain and torturing, not for some imaginary injustice, but simply for your own perverse pleasure. There is no guarantee you will love him as he so desires. You may be swayed away by the superior beauty of man, and I shudder to imagine how he might be provoked if he is rejected yet again, except this time by his own sister. He swore to me that if I created you for his benefit, he would depart the domain of man forever and live with you in seclusion. But you have made no such promise. How can we expect you to honor a covenant entered into even before your conception? And supposing you did agree to live with him in the wilderness, how long until the urge to propagate seizes upon you? Just think. An entire race of demons would be unleashed upon this world, threatening the very existence of mankind. Future generations, if indeed anyone did survive, would curse me as the destructor of the civilization. No. How selfish I have been. If I must die, then so be it. But I will not be unleashing this blight upon the world. Promise. I do dare destroy your hope. 'Twas a temporary lapse in good judgment I agreed to your demands. Never again will I create another creature as wicked and hideous as yourself.
You may be my creator, but I am your master. You will obey me or I will visit such torments upon your head that you will curse your own mother forever having conceived you.
Don't you ever speak of my mother. Your threats do not move me, demon. On the contrary, they strengthen my resolve. I am no coward to bend beneath your words. Tormented as I am and have been, my death would be a relief. You have no power over me anymore. Your threats are meaningless. Leave my sight.
Is every beast but I to find their mate? Is every man but me to find their bride? Even your depraved heart is a ward to someone while mine is condemned to be alone forever. What sort of sick, vulgar justice is this?
Go elsewhere to howl at the moon. Your poetry cannot disguise your vile nature.
Very well. I shall take my leave, but be warned, Frankenstein. I shall be by your side on your wedding night.
Before you sign my death warrant, be sure that you yourself are safe! I returned home to Geneva with utmost haste. I was relieved to find my family alive and safe. Curiously, several weeks went by with no sign of the monster. But I was wrecked with paranoia and could enjoy no happiness while that wretched creature still drew breath. The final confrontation between us was inevitable. One of us would undoubtedly be destroyed. If I triumphed over my demon, then I would be, at long last, liberated from my curse, and can enjoy my days in happiness with Elizabeth by my side. But if instead, if the demon prevailed, though I had no wish to die, I took consolation in the fact that he could torment me no longer, and I would be at peace. These were my calculations, and thus I sought not to delay my day of reckoning, but instead to hasten it. I arranged for our wedding to take place at the earliest possible convenience. And Elizabeth, who had been ever so patient, was keen to oblige.
Do you, Elizabeth, take Victor to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until death do you part?
I do.
Do you, Victor, take Elizabeth to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until death do you part? Victor. Victor.
I shall be by your side on your wedding night.
Victor.
I do.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
What are you doing with that gun, Victor? You're frightening me.
You must stay here where you are safe, Elizabeth. Father and Henry shall watch over you until I return.
What is the matter? You must tell me.
I have a secret, Elizabeth. A dreadful one. One that'll chill your bones with horror when I reveal it to you. No longer you wonder at my misery these past few months, only how I endured it.
What secret is this?
Time is of the essence, Elizabeth. I give you my word, I'll explain everything when I return. But I must go now.
Victor, wait!
Here I stand, demon! Come and face me! I know you're out there. Somewhere. Come! Let us end this war between us once and for all! Are you nothing more than idle threats? Elizabeth! No! 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 Oh, no! No! Ah! After I found Elizabeth's body, I discovered the mutilated corpses of Henry and my father. The devil had taken from me all those whom I held dear. Their fates far worse than death, Captain. I was too arrogant to understand that. And so began my present quest, one fueled by a boundless thirst for vengeance. I had tracked and hunted that fiend all over the globe and endured all manners of hardships in my pursuit. I had scaled colossal mountains, set sail through treacherous seas, crawled over blistering desert sands, sought shelter in icy caves, and snaked my way through jungle labyrinths. I often prayed for death, but dare not die before my enemy was vanquished. My hunt was often guided by villagers who, like yourself, Captain, had caught sight of the monster. He made no efforts to conceal himself. He obviously wished for me to chase him, for if the trail ever went cold, he would reveal himself to me through a shadow or a whisper. At other times he would taunt me with clues carved in trees or etched in stone.
Follow me, Creator. I seek the everlasting ices of the north, where for you shall suffer the miseries of cold and frost, to which I am hardened against. If you hurry, you will find a dead rabbit nearby. Eat it and be nourished. We have yet to wrestle for our lives, you and I, and many hard and miserable hours shall you endure before that moment arrives. Know this, Frankenstein, that I delight in your every suffering.
So drawn I was, northward on icy seas, where the bitter cold brought me to the brink of death, and where fate had delivered me unto the mercy of you and your crew. If I should die before I wake, Captain, I beg of you, please, you must seek him out and destroy him.
I swear it, my friend. "26 August, to Miss Margaret Seville, London. I wonder how you will regard this strange and incredible story that I have relayed to you in my letters. Is it not extraordinary? Does your blood curdle with horror as does my own? Naturally, I cannot credit his story. It is too fantastical, no doubt the product of an overactive imagination. Though curiosity got the better of me, I pressed Victor once more for the particulars by which he supposedly endowed his creature with life.
What madness seizes you? You have heard my story, but you have not listened. Would you be so foolish to recreate my disastrous experiment? Learn from my errors.
2nd September. Once more, I find myself in peril. We are yet again surrounded by mountains of ice. The men who have agreed to be my companions on this expedition look to me for aid and comfort, but I can provide none. It is a terrible thing to reflect that their lives are endangered through my schemes. Worse is the prospect of how this shall play upon your mind. If I perish, these letters will likely never reach you. You may endure months or even years of despair, unaware of my demise and tortured by hope. Oh, my dear sister, these thoughts sicken me worse than the prospect of my own death. 5th September. Our predicament worsens. Several of my unfortunate comrades have claimed graves in these icy waters. Now consumed by fever, Victor's health worsens daily. This morning, a dozen sailors demanded an audience with me. They insisted that if the ice should break, that I must promise to turn the ship about and return south. Upon hearing this, Victor became deeply agitated. 7th September. It is resolved. I have consented to turn the ship about if we are released from our icy prison. Thus my hopes are destroyed. If I survive, I will return a coward and a failure. I do not have it within me to bear this humiliation.
What has happened?
My men rejoice. The ice is broken. We will soon return to England.
So you have given in?
I cannot leave them unwillingly into more danger.
Do what you must, but I cannot. I shall disembark and continue my quest for vengeance.
Victor, your hunt is over. My surgeon surmises you have but hours to live.
I fear you are right. The strength of which I have relied upon for so long is taken from me. I once begged you, Captain, in the event of my untimely death, to take up my quest for vengeance. But as you intend to set sail for England again, you're unlikely to cross paths with the beast.
Nevertheless, I shall keep a weather eye open.
What more can I do than make one final appeal to God that this abomination, by some means, be destroyed before he can visit further devastation upon humanity? I must ask, Captain, how would you judge me?
What do you mean?
As I've told you my story over these past few days, I've had pause to reflect on the righteousness of my actions. Was my objective not noble? Through great toil and study and sacrifice, I sought out to do what no man before me had succeeded in doing. I conquered death, not for fame, not for glory, but so that man should never again have to endure the pain of loss, as I had lost my dear mother. In my zeal I created life, but through no fault or intent of my own, my creation bore out to be a creature of unparalleled evil. He has destroyed all those whom I held dear, and may yet still do so to the species of man which he so despises. Forgive me, Elizabeth. Forgive me, Father. Forgive me, William, Henry, and Justine. I knew not the torment I would bestow upon all of us. Am I to be condemned for its sins? Or will the virtue of my ambition pardon my mistake?
I'm not qualified to be your judge, Victor, but I do sympathize with you, my friend.
Thank you, Robert. Farewell and Godspeed.
Those were his final words before his eyes closed forever.
Father, how I wish I could beg your forgiveness.
Wretch! You dare feign sorrow over the man you tortured? Whose family you so callously slaughtered? Who you chased through these icy seas which drained him from life? His death hangs on you. Do not dare pretend to mourn the man that you murdered.
Do you imagine me numb to remorse? For all I've suffered at his hands, I still pitied my father. But when I learned that he sought love and happiness for himself, while denying the same to me, I was overwhelmed with envy.
It is fitting that you should come here and whine over the desolation that you yourself have caused. You throw a torch into a hut and sit in the ruins and lament the loss. Infant! Hypocrite! Had you heeded your conscience, if indeed you have one, you would have quit your tantrum before it destroyed my friend, and you could have the pardon that you pretend to seek. The truth is more sinister. You do not grieve for him. You grieve your loss of purpose. Who are you now that your prey is caught? What are you, demon, without Frankenstein?
You, who seem to call Frankenstein his friend, seem to have some knowledge of my crimes and of his misfortunes, but in his accounting, surely he is not related to the sum of miseries I've suffered at his hands and the hands of other men. Am I thought to be the only criminal when all mankind has sinned against me? Why do you not hate the villagers who so violently rejected my friendship and cruelty? Why do you not hate the father who sought to slay his daughter's rescuer? Why do you not hate the father who went to abandon his son at the moment of his birth? 'Tis no great mystery. I am disfigured, and thus cannot be virtuous. I am malformed, and thus deserve to be kicked at and trampled upon. I am monstrous, and thus cannot be loved. But you were created you were made in your creator's image. So you think yourself to be beautiful and righteous, yet you sit in judgment and condemn those unlike yourself. Your hearts may be as cold as the mountains of ice round this ship, and you still believe you can commit no sin. 'Tis a cosmic joke. cruel and obscene, that such powerful gods as ours should produce such flawed creatures.
Well, on behalf of the cast and crew of Frankenstein, I want to thank you for watching our presentation. We had a ton of fun producing this show, and I'm very proud of what we accomplished. We had very strong sales, we had a ton of positive feedback from our patrons, but most importantly, we put together an adaptation that was faithful to a novel that deserved a faithful adaptation. So I'm here today to talk about my next project, but before I do that, I just want to take a minute to talk about the quality of the video that you just watched, or the lack thereof. I always knew that filming a stage performance was going to present certain unique obstacles to overcome. We didn't have much by the way of equipment. I filmed the entire thing on my cell phone and a cheap, flimsy tripod. We didn't have enough manpower for anyone to actually man the camera. So we had to leave it, for the most part, in a stationary location. Because of the design of the set, it was really difficult to frame a good shot that could get everything and to get good angles. The stage lights washed out the actors' faces, and we really couldn't account for that with the camera settings because the lights were changing throughout the show. But honestly, our biggest obstacle was time. For most of the rehearsal schedule, obviously we had to get ready for the live performance, and we knew that we couldn't film during the live performances because the camera equipment would obstruct the view of our patrons. So it gave us a very narrow window, 2 final dress rehearsals, to capture as much raw footage as we could to hopefully be able to cobble together a video. And we didn't really have time to see what the problems were and to try to correct for them. We just had to make do with what we had. I tried to fix some of it in post-production editing, but there was really only so much that we could do. So by and large, I kept the editing to a minimum, and I left the footage raw, warts and all. So that brings me to my next project, which is going to be a feature-length independent film called Socks. Socks is an adventure drama story that centers around Richard, an average, middle-class, hardworking, tax-paying individual with a loving family, living the American dream. But he is haunted by some demons, both from his present and his past. He suffers a meltdown at work. He is forced to go on vacation with his family. And during their journey, they encounter a mysterious stranger. And the very presence of that stranger threatens to upend Richard's entire life, including driving a wedge within his family and threatening his career. The story poses some very important questions about the goals that we set for ourselves and the values with which we live our lives by. And like Frankenstein, it also teaches some important lessons about judging books by their covers. There's obviously a lot more to the story than that, but I don't want to go into too much detail at this stage of development. I got to save some things for the trailer. But suffice to say, this is a passion project of mine. It is the direct result of experiences that I had several years ago while I was living on the road and some of the people that I met while I was out there. One way or another, I will produce this film, even if that means funding it out of the loose change that I find in between sofa cushions. That being said, this is an important story to me. I want to tell it well, and to the extent possible, I want to make this film the best quality that I can afford to produce. I've already invested quite a bit of my own personal money into procuring some professional equipment, and I've been teaching myself over the past several months all the different aspects of filmmaking with which I'm not already familiar with. That being said, to make this film really pop and look professional, I could really use the services of a couple of experienced individuals. On set, we would benefit from a cinematographer and a sound engineer. And in post-production, we would benefit from an experienced colorist and sound designer. All these things cost money, and of course there are some production costs, not anything too outrageous, honestly. Like I said, it's a low-budget film, and I think we've kept the budget fairly reasonable, but it's still beyond what I personally have available to invest. My goal is to be in pre-production by no later than January of 2026. Obviously, if we can reach our fundraising goals before then, we'll get into pre-production before then. If you would like to support this project, visit Tramp Productions. There's going to be a link in the description below. $25 or more will get you a digital copy of the film after it's released. And then we've got some higher donation levels which will qualify you for producer credit within the film. If you enjoyed Frankenstein, I am confident that you will enjoy Socks. And with that, I want to thank you for both your time and your support.